Hello and welcome back to Wrongmar. In today's lesson we'll be returning to the front lines of World War I. Our walt for today is to understand how the First World War ended and what life was like in the trenches. Now, where were we? Ah yes, everything has come to a bit of a standstill. Fighting on the Western Front is still slow and trench-like. Fighting on the other side isn't much better, with Germany taking some of Russian land, but Austria-Hungary losing some of its own land. Everything feels like it's just gonna go on forever. But nobody really wants this to go on forever. Life during the war is pretty rough for both sides. But nowhere is life worse than in the trenches. Speaking of which, let's take a word from our sponsors, the Trench Experience. Hey, you! Yes, you! Aren't you bored of city life? Don't you wish you could work in the outdoors? Well, we have the perfect offer for you. Introducing the Trench Experience Package. Throw on your limited edition army camo and let's go on a wild adventure. What's more exciting than pulling an all-nighter with your friends? Well, luckily for you, in the Trench Experience, you won't have a choice. Enjoy the background noise of constant explosions and gunfire. Just when you start to nod off to sleep, bam! And you're awake again. How exciting. If you get bored during the night, you can always play our exciting game of Dodge the Sniper Bullets. It's a real once-in-a-lifetime experience. We offer not one, but two choices of accommodation. You can choose the cozy and comfortable dirt stacks to sleep on, or if you want the real trench experience, you can choose to sleep leaning against the side of the trench wall. And don't worry about packing your pajamas. You can just sleep in the one provided uniform. Just remember to bring your own bottles of water, because running water is not included. There's nothing worse than when you go on holidays and it's just too warm. You never have to worry about that on the Trench Experience, because we guarantee rain, and lots of it. In fact, there's so much rain, you'll be wet pretty much all the time. All that rain has an added bonus: mud, and lots of it. So grab your welly boots and get splashing around in all that mud. Boots not included. Just make sure you don't spend too long in the mud, or you might get trench foot. In the unlikely event that you do get trench foot, you'll know, because the skin on your foot will slowly start to rot away, leaving behind a zombie-looking foot exposed to the elements. But moving on, I know what you must be thinking. Trench life sounds great, but what if I get lonely? Well, don't you worry about that. We have a solution. On the Trench Experience, you'll never be alone. We have made sure to pack your trench with lots of furry little friends to keep you company. Rats. And not just any rats. We've got rats the size of small cats. You see, all this food and rotting flesh lying around the place attracts a certain kind of guest to the trenches. For the rats, this is like an all-inclusive holiday resort. They can't get enough of this place. Just make sure you tidy away your food at night, and make sure you cover your toes when you go to sleep. How exciting! Now, we understand that not everybody is mad for rats, so we've added a second little creature to keep you company. Lice! These little creatures will live in your clothes. They'll lay their eggs deep in the stitching of your clothes so that they're always close by. If you remember how exciting it was to have the chicken box, that's kind of what a lice infestation is like. Those little lice will nibble on you all through the night. How affectionate. And just when you think this offer can't possibly get any better, our package is all-inclusive. You'll get your meals included. There are no vending machines for snacks if you get peckish, so make sure you keep your rations safe. The menu has a wide selection of meat stew or biscuits. If you're a vegetarian or a vegan, you could have biscuits and dirt. Tasty! Just make sure you soak your biscuits in liquid for a few hours, or they might shatter your teeth.
As you'd expect, this particular diet isn't for everyone, so in the unlikely case of your neighbour having vomiting or diarrhea, well, let's just hope you brought some water with you. And a pair of wellies. Yeah. Sign up today!
With conditions as bad as this, you can understand why both the Central Powers and the Allies really wanted a quick end to the war. I know what this war needs, they thought. More of the world, and more war. So both groups gathered some new friends from around the world. The Allies were able to persuade an impressive list of friends to join their side, including Japan and Italy. The Central Powers found a big new scary friend in the Middle East called the Ottoman Empire. They also convinced Bulgaria to join their side. So now we really can call this a world war. We have fighting in nearly every continent. And guess what? All these new fights did absolutely nothing to change the war. Everything is still pretty much evenly matched. So now we play the waiting game. It's like a high-risk staring contest. Food is running out, people are miserable. Who will blink first? Everyone's just kind of waiting for someone to crack. And that egg was Russia. Sick of how bad life had become, some of the people threw out the old government in a revolution and pulled Russia out of the war. As you can imagine, Germany could not believe their luck. Finally, things were looking like they were swinging their way. Soon the war would be over, and all of Europe would be eating wurst and sauerkraut. There really was only one tiny issue. It's this teeny weeny little problem called the United States of America. You see, America had been quietly getting very rich and very powerful, selling stuff to the Allies during the war. Germany knew that if America joined the war on the side of the Allies, they wouldn't have a hope. So they came up with one of their wildest plans yet. They sent a super secret message to Mexico, telling them how great it would be if they attacked America on the sly. All they had to do was get this one little message to the Mexicans in secret. Easy, right? Well, no, because the British managed to get their hands on the message, and they showed it to America. And boy, were they angry. Then things changed pretty quickly. The American troops arrived in Europe and pushed the Germans back. At the same time, all the other Allied countries started to push back on their fronts, across the world. Piece by piece, the Central Powers fell. First Bulgaria, then the Ottomans, then Austria-Hungary, and finally, Germany. The First World War was over, and the world it left was in bits. Over 17 million people died in the First World War, and another 20 million were injured. It was the bloodiest war the world had ever seen, and everyone suffered. In the aftermath of the war, everyone got together and agreed that they would never let a war as brutal, as ruthless, and as deadly ever happen again. And they managed to do that. For a little while at least. So our Walt for today was to understand how the First World War ended, and also to have a look at what life in the trenches was like. When you're ready, you can try out the activities down below to see how much you understood. That's all we have time for this week. Until next time, take care.